Hello, hello everybody. Captain Happy here, and yes, it's another Jutland video. I never said I don't break promises. This was a couple games I had almost back-to-back. I was actually, I think this was the first game, and then I had another one which was still a win, but not quite as good, and then the second clip is the third game. And both are pretty solid examples of some of the real strength of this ship, but also obviously playing a little bit with the format in ranked. This map, I take what we have dubbed in my clan the boring destroyer job, and that is contesting sea and trying to sit behind this island. Now in this one, it ends up not being so boring, which is pretty nice, but I decided to point my nose to the east here. Sometimes I do like to come in the other way, so if I have to retreat, I can kind of retreat almost due south and to the left, but this time I go the other way. And right here, so this is a battle with CVs, and the next one is one without, so a little taste of both. I get a glimpse of their Oster, and I know I'm going to get the cap. So that's my cue to move up and see if I maybe can get some torps on this Jean Bar or even the Oster coming into the cap. I know I have a quick smoke, and I know I outspot him, I think, by maybe a tenth, but get the torps out. I might also get lucky and maybe hit that Palmer who's coming in. He spots me, I immediately hit my smoke and turn away. My hydro's running, still got another 2 minutes and 30 seconds, which is plenty of time if he did send torps this way. And I decided to dump the rest of mine out right there in almost a straight line, thinking that the Oster might line up there, and if not, maybe I'll get lucky and get a hit or something on the jump art behind him. But with that, I turn back into the cap. I want to keep it contested. I know from this position, the only threat to spotting me, and there's a hit on something. I think it was the Palmer. Yep, looks like it was the Palmer. The only threat to spotting me is the CV, and here he comes. Speak of the devil. So I don't fully commit to reversing, but I do want to try and start a fire on this Palmer. If I got him flooding, a fire would sure be nice. But also I'm expecting he's getting close to have his hydro. There it is. Now this is something that's kind of important too. Yes, I'm hydroed. Yes, I'm spotted. Still, the CV can be a threat to me. I can't escape him from smoke. But other than that, no enemy ship can hit me with anything. So there's not exactly much of a need for me to panic and leave the cap. I just got to keep this island between myself and all of them. And then it looks like the Pomeran's kind of slowly trying to get away. So that means, there we go. I'm now out of his hydro range. With the CV planes coming, I do use my quick smoke and flick my AA guns on. They're not, the AA isn't great in the Jutland, but it's something. You'll shoot a plane down here or there. And it's at this point when my eyes kind of get wide. Because if you look at the track on the mini-map that this Palmer is following, it looks like if he hit his brakes real hard and turned hard to the left, he might be able to get out of that without beaching. But seeing how his forward marker was still where it was, I basically knew he was going to just run his nose straight into the island there. And, I mean, most battleships don't exactly reverse quickly, but certainly not German battleships. And, yep, right there. At that point, when I see his nose hit, I know he's dead. And so I call it out to my team. Keep an eye on those torpedo planes. I have a feeling he's looking at me. And 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. That's one dead Palmer. So, funny though that was, I was fortunate to have my torps ready and to have him basically beach like that. Planes do come in. Because I kind of kept my eye on them and I had a feeling, I was able to accelerate. That's another feature of this ship in particular, but the line has fantastic acceleration. So you can, they don't, and the British light cruisers know this well, they don't come to a stop that quickly. but you can accelerate pretty well. So at this point, I'm trying to limit the fight to 1v1. I see the Oster coming, I switch to the AP, because broadside against destroyers, just watch what British AP does. Now here's another example where his guns aren't pointed at me. I don't have any reason to really start moving that quickly. I start going, and that's more or less just in case he threw torps. And at that point, I'm pretty clear of any torpedoes he might have sent, despite my hydro rocket. So there was 2 kills. You saw it procced. I do run Cunningham, and so when you get 2 kills, which isn't the tallest ask for a ship like the Jutland in a game, you get an extra consumable. And it's one of the reasons why in my build for the Jutland, I don't run with as a superintendent, or maybe it's called something differently. But I rely on Cunningham to give me that extra heal that don't really need an extra smoke, but Hydro can come in handy too, and sure enough, there it is. So if you watch here how I torp, I almost never ever use the spread. I almost always use single launch. And how I try to do it is to acclimate, and obviously it's circumstantial, but for any maneuvers they can do or are likely to do, and in this case, with that Alaska nose to nose with our Massachusetts, I feel like the only real factor I had to throw those torps with in mind was his speed, forward and backward. It was unlikely that he was going to turn too dramatically with a Massachusetts right in front of him. And sure enough, our Oster lands a few torps, and I'm able to lock him down with 1. You will actually see another example, and the pattern I end up sending at this key looks very, very, very similar to what I threw at the Alaska. I always send about 3 well behind the indicator, 2 or so ahead of the indicator, and then kind of crisscross, going back and forth in the middle and around where the indicator is. 2 on the indicator, there's 2 very far behind it, and there's some in front, and then back to it. Now he gets low enough that I decided, let's open fire. His guns are turned away, he's no threat to me besides the secondaries. And really at this point, even though points-wise we're pretty close, his secondaries hitting me and delaying my taking the cap aren't overly relevant. I can still get the cap, I've got a smoke ready, and pink! There goes a key. Now, that's kill number 4, 7 torpedo hits, only 86k damage, but obviously relevant where I needed to be. Now, at this point, I speed it up a little bit, but I have to think about leaving the cap. No, let's due diligence, get the cap, just make sure, and it's at this point in the game where I actually noticed I had 4 kills. And so I throw a slide comm out there to my team. Ooh, ranked Kraken on the table, or more accurately, ranked Quacken on the table. And while there are some of my teammates here behind me who do take a few shots, at least one of them kind of says go for it. Now, to be clear, it's very nice to get a Kraken, but I don't expect to be allowed to get it. I expect my teammates to shoot. Everyone loves killing a CV. Go for it. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. But it never hurts to ask. And I'm not sure, I didn't look at which one said go for it, Jut. But it was one of the ships, and I think they do stop shooting. And get a quick example here. Unfortunately for this Lexington, he has torpedo bombers up. And in a ship like the Jutland, but really in a lot of destroyers, dodging torpedo planes from a CV is not exceptionally difficult. You try to go nose in as much as possible, and here he's trying to set up from my side, so I'm going forward, and now full brakes, full reverse, and hard to my left. And here you'll see another example of British acceleration. So one of those torps didn't look bad, but I was able to accelerate away from it, get my final salvos away, and there's Kraken number 1 in a ranked battle. So that was kind of neat. Show you the post-battle here. 117k damage, really pretty good for a game with only 7 ships. This is example number 2. This one, there is definitely its format overall is pretty dramatically different from the other one. Where the first game, my team, the rest of my team really did their part, held their own. We were comfortably in control of that game pretty much all the way through. This one takes a definite different tone to it, at least at the start. And it turns out in this game some of the real strengths. So having the hydro, having the smoke, in particular, the thing I love the most about this line is its great concealment. The Jutland has 5.7, as you can see there, which is close to second to none. There's only 3 or 4 other destroyers that can get lower than that, and very few of them are at the tier 8 and tier 9. So preemptive torps using RPF. I obviously, with the torp range there, I'm kind of hoping that whatever it is moving forward towards the cap. Definitely, those were not slung with any hope of getting a battleship or their cruiser. Those were meant for DDs. So that one, when I fire the spread, it starts on one side, goes across, and then comes back the other direction for the final 5. Get a little lucky in the north there with a torpedo kill on their destroyer. But you will see, if you keep just one eye on CCAP, that's really where things go south in this game very quickly. Get spotted, it's the Cossack. Now, the Cossack is a very capable ship. It is one of those that gets really close in its concealment to contesting me. So here, I wait for him to shoot, and even then, I don't pop my smoke, because I figure he's got crawling smoke, and yep, there I go undetected. If I can get his smoke between myself and the Iowa, I will go and spot him. And sure enough, that's what happens. So now that I know he's here, and I know relatively what way his ship is facing, I'm keep moving to the west. Keep my guns right on there. I am half expecting him to be popping out of his smoke coming at me, and I'm waiting on my smoke to be able to try and help kill him from concealment. However, it clearly seems as though he has moved in the opposite direction, and that is my cue to use the great concealment of this ship and move due north and try to get into this target-rich environment for my torpedoes. I know their Edinburgh is on the far flank, and as you can see, it kind of crumbled. So there's no fear from a potential radar or the cruiser. I now have it confirmed that their Cossack is moving away from me, which gives me the green light to use every single little bit of my concealment I can to get as close as possible and try to make my torps really count. Obviously, you see the Iowa and the Alsace on the corner there. That's really who I'm looking at. But I'm also keeping an eye on the Iowa to the north. He's coming to a stop, and he will be reversing. If he were to come forward, he is fast enough to be a spotting threat to me. But again, I've got my smoke ready. Now that was a very different spread, obviously a lot more concentrated, as I don't know how motivated either of those battleships are to move too far from where they are currently. Now I end up being kind of proven wrong, as you'll see, but our Palmer decides to do Palmer-y things and just full-on cowabunga it is and come at these guys, and it definitely forces them to kind of scramble. But as you can see, I'm sacrificing some damage. I'm waiting. I don't want to pop smoke and start shooting yet because they don't know I'm here. And now when they see the torpedoes, they'll have obviously an idea of the angle I'm at. So it's at this point, on top of that, the Alsace coming at me, where I decide to use my smoke and start shooting the Alsace. And I know I got only one torp, unfortunately, but I did get a flood, which means if I can get a fire or something going with my HE here, there's a good chance I can kill him before he gets to hard spotting to suicide range. If that's not the case, I've only got 18 seconds left on my torp. So either way, you see partially there it was about my concealment when I popped my smoke. The other part of it is I do try to time it with having a reload of my torpedoes before the smoke expires. So at least if I'm getting rushed or I get really pushed, I have that last-ditch tool to at least trade. And we get some good hits on the Alsace. He's burning, and he goes down. Perfect. Yeah, you can see our Palmer enjoying his rush there. He actually did really well. And at this point, so my smoke has expired. I do have a fear of this Cossack, but I see his smoke, so I know he's at least somewhat far away. And openly shooting at this Iowa right now, I feel like it's worth whatever health I might lose to finish him, and sure enough, that happens. 5 more seconds on the smoke. My torps are reloaded, and Iowa sitting stationary. Now I shoot the first few where I think he's going, or more or less right at him, and then you saw I waited for a few seconds on the last 4 just to ensure he was committing to the reverse. As it turns out, the last 4 wouldn't be needed. My team chunks him pretty heavily. However, if they didn't, I think my torps there would have been enough to finish the job. So there's kill number 2. Again, you saw Cunningham procced, so get extra heal, extra smoke, extra hydro. That's nice. You can see here my concern is the Cossack. Where is the Cossack? Because we are getting A, and we've split the 2 caps, but it's 3v3. And they have a USS Black and a Cossack and an Edinburgh left. And we have a fairly healthy Alsace. I don't know much about our Iowa in the south. But by a significant point difference, but we'll start making that up now. Either way, we're not out of the woods. So I use, once I establish that I'm comfortable that the Cossack wasn't pushing, wasn't coming at me, I move forward, use my RPM to kind of try and track him, and what I want to do here is absolutely make sure I try to help my Alsace as much as possible. With my spotting, with my torps, here's hoping. Yes, Edinburgh is smoking, which is a mixed bag. On the one hand, it's nice because I know he's not a radar Edinburgh. I still am not sure where the USS Black is, though. So either way, him smoking up, so now having smoke and kind of being a blessing. What do we all know about smoke screens? And I also recognize the Cossacks here too. You can see the second smoke. So I'm going to send, I think, 6 or 7 into the smoke where I know the Edinburgh is, and save the last 3 to try and dump at the Cossack. And so there's 6 and 7, 8. Okay, so I saved 2 from Cossack. And right as I shoot, or fire the torps, he pops up and I kind of freak out and click the fire button there, you can see. But I make up for it with a couple of very fortunate salvos, and this one I do take a big hit from the Edinburgh, but again I got the extra heal, so it's nice. And come on, come on, come on. Yes! Got the last blind fire on him. And so that's huge. And now I know I've only got 13 seconds left on my hydro, but the Cossack also only has 4 torps. I'm not that worried about it. Get 1, 2, 3, and that's a dead Edinburgh. And now we also have it indicated, although B did start to flip earlier, I didn't point it out. So I kind of knew that that's where the USS Black was. So now I head south because he's the last ship left alive. And though I don't have to kill him, I do want to force the issue. I don't know how healthy he is. So obviously my indicator, the mod station that I run, if he's never been within spotting range of me, that you don't trust that. He might be full health, he might not be. But either way, I feel like I can get close enough, maybe bait out his radar. I have a smoke ready, so if I can turn and run, I can drop off detection relatively quick. But get some damage, just see what's up. And yep, there's the radar. So once again, I RPF torp. And you can see the shape that it takes. Kind of go one way and then come back the other, and that compensates for a lot of different maneuvers that can be made. Now, one thing that stood out to me watching this, actually editing this, I get outrageously lucky with my RNG on just the back turret. I think every single one of those shots from just the back turret hit, which is not typical. And speaking of not typical, ding! The Kraken number 2 there, and that was a nice way to end it. Not to mention the fact that it was a comeback win. Not as much damage, only 92k, but I feel like I did my part. I hope you all enjoyed.